Happy Monday and weekend of all kinds of review, what's happened in litigation against gun laws, not just in Illinois, but also across the country. You have a California court that has found California's law prohibiting the possession of magazines of more than 10 rounds is unconstitutional. The California officials responding with an appeal, and we're seeing where we're going here with that particular issue and if that could impact what's going on in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals here in Illinois. Welcome back, Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air on X, previously known as Twitter, on Facebook or on YouTube, where you can watch the live stream and also interact that way. But again, a federal judge striking down California's ban on certain magazines, and the state quickly filing a notice of appeal. This coming after Judge Roger Benitez on Friday issued that ruling essentially saying that there's no American tradition of limiting ammunition capacity and that the detachable magazines solved a problem with historic firearms, running out of ammunition and having to slowly reload a gun. The judge went on to write that there have been and there will be times where many more than 10 rounds of ammunition are needed to stop attackers. Yet, under the state statute from the state of California, the state says, quote, too bad. So again, the Attorney General quickly filed a notice of appeal in California, and you even have Gavin Newsom, the California governor, making this statement on X, where he posted his reaction, saying that, unsurprisingly, Judge Benitez chose to issue this, quote, radical decision on the same day that President Biden announced the new Office of Gun Violence Prevention. As a reminder, this is the same judge who used Gun Violence Awareness Day in striking down California's assault weapons ban, compared the AR-15 to a Swiss Army knife. He goes on to say, Gavin Newsom says that Judge Benitez is not even pretending anymore. This is politics, pure and simple, he said. So I guess, is that even Newsom admitting that this is political? It's interesting, I guess, but he is saying indeed it is political. So Gavin Newsom making that statement. Further, he says that it's time to wake up. Unless we embrace a right to safety in the Constitution, we are at the mercy of ideologues like Judge Benitez. All of our gun safety laws that are proven to save lives are at risk, Newsom said. It doesn't matter what laws we pass. It doesn't matter what the voters decide. Concealed carry, banning weapons of war, reasonable waiting periods, background checks. The ideologues are coming for all of them. And I think the Florida, or the California governor, rather, he's had that push to amend the Illinois Constitution to essentially strip certain provisions of the Second Amendment, to codify in the U.S. Constitution a right to safety, which unclear what exactly that would be. One person's right to safety would mean that they could carry a firearm to keep themselves and their family safe. So is that something you're going to essentially try to modify and say, well, you can only have certain types of, lever action firearms or revolver firearms, not the semi-automatic firearms, modern sporting rifles, for instance? So again, Gavin Newsom, he goes on to say in his statement that this is exactly why I've called for the constitutional amendment, and this is why I'll keep fighting to defend our right to protect ourselves from gun violence. So that's where we're at, right? California's judge, a federal judge, saying that the ban on magazines over 10 rounds are unconstitutional. Now, it didn't completely strike it down right away, all right, just making that statement. But the judge will essentially keep the law in effect while the case plays out. So you've got the appeal being put on notice over in California, but how this impacts the state of Illinois' gun and magazine ban and the challenge in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, you got to think that it's going to have some role here, because we're still waiting on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals to make their ruling. And if we look at the docket here, if you recall, We've looked at this several times, last month, more than a month ago, you had the various parties file a motion for review of other court precedent that's being made. In particular, you have filings that say, hey, look over at a Hawaii federal judge that ultimately said you can't have bans on butterfly knives, for instance. So they filed for the justices, or the judges in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeal to review that case. And then you had the response from the defendants, the state of Illinois, filing their response. So we've gone over that, but there has been no movement out of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. Could the plaintiffs, the gun rights groups, take Judge Benitez's ruling out of California and essentially file it into the appeals court to say, judges, while you're still considering this after months now of wrangling behind closed doors of what your ultimate decision is going to be on this, here's yet another case. So on top of the Hawaii case, you've got this other case saying that you can't ban certain magazine capacities. So we'll see how that plays into ultimately what happens in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. But again, no update there. But you do have the California judge essentially saying that the ban on magazines over 10 rounds is unconstitutional. But also you've got other cases that Illinois is defending against, gun rights groups challenging. You've got the case where you had the firearms industry that can be sued by out-of-state and even in-state people who want to try to challenge the gun manufacturers, saying that they create an unsafe environment or that they're advertising to children. That case is still pending, and you've got actually the state being granted a delay in responding to a preliminary injunction. So that was something from last week that we reviewed. But you also have, the question of, are the plaintiffs in this case going to take a different California ruling that's the California state law allowing for lawsuits against the gun manufacturers is unconstitutional? Will that be a factor in the Illinois challenge? So you can see where while we're waiting for different courts to act, other courts are acting, and it's possible that those decisions could impact whatever the decisions may be out of, say, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, for instance. So a lot of moving pieces, but obviously these are things that we'll continue to monitor as we rapidly approach, 5 or 6 days from October 1st being here in Illinois when the window opens for the gun registry. And again, January 1st is the deadline for you to register or face criminal penalties for not registering if you're found out of compliance. So again, a lot of things still have yet to fall into place. We are still waiting on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals with their decision and their ruling. So we'll see where that takes us. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop. Follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on